We are Steel Magnolias, two sisters who love family, traditions, and all things Southern.
We've got plenty of room at our table, so pull up a chair.
Hey, Lainey.
Hi, Laura Beth.
Well, we have like all sorts of entertainment, Southern-esque types of things
to talk about today.
Led us to how we're going to steer today's conversation.
Yeah, so if you're Southern curious and you want to be entertained this week, get ready. We got some ideas for you.
Yeah. So we'll start with something that started this week but is an 8-part series.
Yes.
From Ken Burns. Mm-hmm. And I haven't yet seen it, so I can't comment at the time that we're recording this on
it, because we haven't watched it yet.
The first release out the gate. But it is the sort of history of country music.
Yeah.
And
it's getting good reviews just from, articles and I guess the people who got to see it early.
Yeah.
So it would be interesting to...
Yeah, so it's PBS. Or
is it?
National Public Television. Or,
okay.
Yeah. So, if you don't...
Yeah, that's right.
If you don't
I think
have
that's what Ken Burns typically
cable, then you can maybe access it through your antenna service. Or, of course, stream it. I think they're streaming it as well. So, definitely something cool to check out. And then we are doing another partnership on a film with Fathom Events.
Love it.
Love our friends at Fathom. They have a film called Elvis Unleashed that's coming out for 2 nights only in theaters. It'll be out October 7th and 10th.
Okay.
At 7 p.m. local time. And it's in AMC and Regal theaters. So if you've got one of those chains near you.
I know how we'll be celebrating our mom's birthday.
I know, right?
Biggest Elvis fan.
That was a shoe-in. But, you can check out fathomevents.com for tickets to Elvis Unleashed. But we are going to be giving away several pairs of tickets.
How fun.
On our social accounts. So make sure and follow us at Steel Magnolias Podcast. But the event features never before seen outtakes and performances from Elvis's 1968 Elvis Comeback Special.
Okay.
So, and then it also includes interviews with Dennis Quaid, Jade Jackson, who I guess is like a rising pop / country artist.
Okay.
And Steve Binder. And Steve was one of the producers on the 68 Elvis Comeback Special. So he, he's a highly esteemed director. I just think if you're an Elvis fan...
he's such an entertainer.
This is going to be a really fun night out. If you're friends with an Elvis fan, this would be a fun treat to take them to see him on the big screen. So
it's amazing to me what following he has worldwide.
Oh my gosh, I know. Well, we've mentioned before.
Asians love him. Like, it's just awesome.
We've mentioned before the connector oftentimes that you and I mention when we're abroad in terms of how people know where we're from. As we mention Jack Daniels a lot because a lot of people know of Tennessee whiskey. But then my second go-to is usually Elvis.
Yep. That's right.
So
now, if you're anywhere in the Great Britain, they love Johnny Cash. So that's another one.
Okay.
If you're in that area,
okay.
But anyhow,
okay,
I digress.
Well, there's all kinds of interesting like special interview segments that are a part of this. So even if you've seen a lot of films on Elvis, there's some never before seen footage and things that you'll see at this film that you would probably appreciate. So.
Don't miss it. Just 2 nights.
Well, speaking of Great Britain,
yes,
there is a highly anticipated film this week. Of course, the film Downton Abbey.
Return to Downton Abbey
has now hit theater, is hitting theaters the week that we will release this. And we wanted to talk about the monarchy and the royal family because we believe that Southerners have a strong fascination and love for the royal family.
I know, it's really funny, but we do.
And so at first I was like, I don't know why that is. And then didn't take me any time at all to start thinking about the royal family. And I was coming to all kinds of easy conclusions as to why. As a Southerner, I just love it.
Now, I will say, I still think a good bit of it is because a lot of the settlers that came here into the southern part of the United States came from England, Ireland, Scotland. Like, a lot of
they're truly our ancestors.
Right. And so
that's why we love them, too.
You're going to naturally...
Yeah.
Cook like them, have music like them, like all of the influence of things that they would have done.
Yeah.
I think that's why we have such ties to that. I could be wrong.
Well, no, I had that down on my list.
Okay.
I mean, these are pretty much our ancestors.
Right.
I mean, we're not claiming that we're in the Windsor line. But, you know, these are our people.
Right.
So, yeah, of course we're fascinated with them.
Yeah.
They're probably... much like what our great-great-greats would have been like.
Yeah.
So, okay, so we have an article that we will link in our show notes because Southern Living also did a fun little guide or list of why Southerners are obsessed with British royalty.
Yeah.
So we'll link that in the show notes. We'll be pulling
some things from that because it's funny and it's just cute.
But I think one of the most foundational things, aside from them being a lot of our ancestors from those that are in this area, are just the time-honored traditions that they uphold. So if you watched the series The Crown...
So good. If you didn't, you should.
Plug for The Crown. Yes, that was a Netflix series. So The Crown follows Queen Elizabeth from a very young age, and you get to see... I mean, and she was young. Was she 16 when she... I don't remember. But she was young.
When she found out she was going to be...
Yeah.
The one.
And, yeah, of course, she is still the reigning... has the reigning throne.
Yes.
There now. But you get to see a glimpse into, like, the protocol that she was...
Oh, I mean...
forced to... uphold in every area. Like, as she presided over her husband, over her family, over all of the people of the land. So,
well, and even when she was a little girl, her dad was king, so she had to bow as a little girl to him. Things like that, it's just fascinating that those protocols are in place, and it doesn't matter your age.
Right.
You do it.
Or male, female. So one of the interesting things that you immediately see is the fact that Elizabeth and Philip, as newlyweds, have had a very short period of time where they've, just been newlywed. Yeah, just been married till everything turns, and she's now going to be
coronated as the king, queen,
and he has to bow to her.
Yes.
Whoa. Like, of course he knew at some point she was in line for the throne, but the way it all came about was much earlier than anyone would have anticipated. So, so just the way that she sticks to protocol, even when it's really hard and awkward, like when it's hard for her because it is something that she's having to hold her sister to.
Yes.
Or...
Yeah. It's fascinating to watch.
But it's like the law.
Yeah. And to put yourself in her shoes of what that must be like.
Yeah.
And Philip's shoes. Right. And Margaret's shoes. Yeah.
To then, like, submit to that.
Yeah.
Sort of motion. But do you remember when Princess Kate caused quite the stir with the fact that she wasn't wearing pantyhose?
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
So I just thought that was such a fun example of, now I'm sure there's been 10 other examples since, but I thought that was such a fun example of like the new young people coming into the throne.
Right. Because we have these same issues in churches or whatever, where the older ones are like, they don't even wear hose anymore.
Right.
And it's weird to them.
Yeah.
We just don't have it literally in our family and in our... that kind of thing. And
so even though I thought it was silly, it actually like warmed my heart so much because I loved that we were even having the conversation of pantyhose. Like the headline news was talking about
It's true.
A woman wearing pantyhose and just...
Is it okay not to?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, just the
things
stuff
like
that surfaces around some of these traditions. I don't know. It just makes me smile.
Now, I will say, I even think it's interesting how some things are shifting and changing, too. Like that kind of thing. Where you know, and sometimes I think it's okay, and sometimes I don't.
Yeah.
Like, there's certain things where I'm like, oh.
Yeah.
Maybe they should hold on to that. But anyhow.
Yeah. Well, of course, not all Southerners are rule followers. I am. So that just on a personal level, I don't just love, you know, the royal family, but I love the rules. And
so you've put all your white away.
I did. I saw on a clearance rack this week some really cute white pants. And I was like, save these for next summer. I don't really think I want to put these in my closet with their tags on until next summer because I've missed the window. And I know that's why they're on the clearance rack.
That's right.
So actually, Belk knew exactly what was up.
That's right.
A Southern department store. Okay. So, but yeah, I read a quote that said, I thought this was funny. One does not greet Her Majesty without a curtsy or bow, just as one does not grill hot dogs and call it a barbecue.
Come on now. That's right.
That's exactly what we were talking about.
We just talked about this.
On our barbecue episode.
That's great.
But yeah, there's so much formality in if you did ever get the chance to meet the Queen.
And I can't remember. I watched so many of these, Laura Beth, different movies and different shows about the royal family. So I get them confused. Yeah. But was it The Crown? It was The Crown that had the episode of the Kennedys coming to Buckingham Palace.
Yes.
And apparently, if that was told properly, Jackie Kennedy did not greet her the right way or something.
Right.
Which I thought was interesting.
Which I think happens to a lot of presidential cabinets that are interacting with, like, our Oval Office.
Well, that's not our rules. That's theirs.
Exactly.
And so
we don't know.
Right.
And so I'm sure, you know, if each, you know, presidential term, if they're getting that opportunity one time.
True. And in different nations, it's going to be different.
Yeah.
But for some reason, to me, when it's England
I
and
know.
it's the Queen,
go learn the protocol.
You don't learn it? Come on.
You didn't have 5 seconds to Google if you curtsy or bow or...
There was no Google for Jackie Kennedy.
Well, that's true. But I've heard it has happened since.
Okay.
In more current officials. Anyway, so...
Moving on.
Okay, so what else do you have on your list? I kind of blanketed with just time-honored traditions was the first one that I wanted to mention.
Well, I guess I think one of the things that Southerners seem to enjoy is a reason to dress up.
Heck yes.
We love an excuse to get dressed up.
We do.
Perhaps wear a hat or...
Yes.
You know, just a little more than the usual.
Yeah.
And I think we get to see a lot of that with the royal family. They get to dress up often.
Yeah. Way beyond just weddings and Easter.
And can I say that Kate Middleton, and even before she was just Kate Middleton, not Princess Catherine, sister can dress.
I know. She was on point.
Classy.
Yeah. I see why William was drawn to her.
Absolutely. Yeah. I just think she's so classy.
Yeah. So we like classy fashion.
That's right.
Yeah, I think...
Cover what needs to be covered and, all of that.
Yeah. We said it on our episode when we were discussing the Kentucky Derby, but our horse race fashion was taken from the royal races that were happening. So, a guy from
even our
States.
Love of horse racing comes from...
Exactly. Yeah, they've taught us to love horses and hunting dogs.
Yeah.
And just the sort of royalness that can come with that. So we wouldn't have hats at the Kentucky Derby if it weren't for the royal fashion.
Yeah. And you do know Queen Elizabeth got to go to the Kentucky Derby a few derbies back. And when I say few, I've watched it so long, it may have been as many as 10 years ago. But it was a lifelong dream of hers because it's one of the big races. And she was still riding until a few years ago. I don't know if she still is, but... She's always been very into her horses and, her corgis and just very outdoorsy, even though she's obviously in lots of fine dining experiences with different emperors and things, but she loves to be outside.
Yeah, yeah. I would say one of the things that I always notice about the Queen, that I'm, of course, all of these circumstances, I'm talking about watching her on television. I've never been around her. Is the fact that she always has her pocketbook.
Oh, it's so cute. Yeah.
And I've always thought, what does the Queen have in her pocketbook? What does she need in her pocketbook?
That's a good
Money?
question.
No. A cell phone? Probably not reachable. Like keys? Doubt it. What is...
That is hilarious.
Lipstick and a hanky is all I can think of. A handkerchief. So anyway, but I think that's even... As Southerners, we love our accessories. I think we have pulled even influence, not just from the hats, but from our pocketbooks. We like handbags and...
But even with your saying pocketbook, when I hear pocketbook, I think of it hanging in the middle of the arm.
It has one strap.
So awesome.
And it dangles from your wrist or right at your elbow.
That's right.
Yeah.
That is so precious.
Anyway.
But that is one of the things I think that we love is just the clothing, the fashion,
and I would add even some specific fashion. We mentioned this on our Southern Fashion episode, on episode 26. Tweed, like those sorts of fabrics and textiles that they wear for hunting purposes or for certain events. We have taken and love here. So tweed came to mind, bow ties,
plaids.
They,
all of family plaids, even that are the Queen's family.
Yeah.
She's from the Stuart, I think. Stuart is her.
Okay, that's
plaid,
like her plaid. Okay.
Anyway.
Okay.
Yeah, it's fun to see the influence even in fashion.
And then I'll mention one other thing while we're talking clothing. For children, smocked clothing.
Oh.
I mean, just the clothing you see the royal family kids in, it's just precious.
I know.
And I think you see a lot of that here for...
Well, and even, like in special occasion things, you'll see the boys even in those long dress things that are smocked, which is kind of unusual to see, but in a formal setting, like how they do it.
Or like a christening or a baptism.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. All of that's really, I think, from them. So, what else?
Well... Gosh.
How about a good set of pearls? Right?
Yeah. She has those on often.
And we've even mentioned on this podcast as well, I think it was on the Southern Fashion episode. I might just link that in our show notes. It was episode 26. There are certain events that it's a very Southern thing to give a young lady her first set of pearls or pearl earrings, or I'm sitting here in pearl earrings.
And it's simple. Yeah. It's a simple look that is just classic and classy.
Yeah, yeah. But it's very...
Now, speaking of that, I do have to say, if you ever find yourself in London, a must-see is going to see the Crown Jewels.
Oh, I would love to.
Now, the Crown Jewels is not like seeing her pearl necklace and earring. I mean, this is like the fanciest things that are used in various like coronation services and different like scepter that she holds and different things like that. So we're talking about appointments of
high level officials. Yeah.
And when I made a trip to London in 2010, I was with a friend who had been to London many times.
Oh, I know where you're going with this story.
And so she actually was like, we have to see the Crown Jewels. And I remember thinking, because she had already seen it, and I thought, really? Is it that big of a deal?
It's just a crown,
we only have 3 days.
Yeah.
Are we sure we want to spend our time wisely? Right. And she's like, no, trust me, you have to see it.
Yeah.
And I have to say...
So it's a museum?
So worth it. It's in the Tower of London, which is even cool to see because it's, where they have the, you would know these costumes, but the costumed, they call them beefeaters.
Yes.
And, so you get to see, and this is a true tower that was used for protection of the city and different things like that.
So is that where the changing of the guard happens?
No, that's at Buckingham Palace, and I'll get to that in just a moment. Okay. But seeing the crown jewels, they're in the tower. In the tower.
Cool.
And they have it such that you literally are on a conveyor belt with you moving. Because they can't have,
like the people
are going to stand.
Airport.
Exactly. People are going to stand and stare at certain things that are just amazing for so long.
Can you get back on it at all?
You can go back and get back on.
But they're trying to make it difficult
just
for lingering.
Moving. Yeah. So it's really kind of funny because the jewels are standing still. You're moving.
That's hilarious.
But it's a must-see, I think, if you make a trip to London.
I want to go. I haven't been to England at all.
I actually have written down a few of the different places that I've seen. Some are must-see, some are not.
Yeah.
That I've seen that were royal residences.
Yes.
Do you want me to go ahead and mention the Buckingham Palace? So same trip, 2010. I'm with a friend who had been to London a few times. So she wanted to do some of the things with me and some of the things she didn't really want to see again.
Yeah.
So I wanted to see the changing of the guard, which happens at Buckingham Palace every day.
Yeah.
And it's just a formality kind
of
a thing. I thought that'd be fun. I want to get a couple pictures. Well, I tell you, God was shining on me that day because my friend said, you know what? We've been going. I'm just going to sleep in this morning and you go ahead and go do St. Paul's Cathedral and the changing of the guard, and then I'll meet you later.
Okay.
So I do that. I'm at St. Paul's Cathedral to see, which is where Charles and Diana were married.
Oh, that's right.
So I got to see that. I didn't go just for that. It's gorgeous and has tons of history on its own, but that is where that happened. So I went there and toured that in the morning and then found the train to get to Buckingham Palace. Now, I never went in Buckingham Palace. I only saw it from the outside.
Yeah.
I think there are parts that you can...
the chance sometimes to go in.
To go.
Kind of depends, I think, if they're there or not. And just certain seasons of the year.
Yeah.
They open it, so...
But I had no plan of going inside, but I just wanted to see that changing of the guard. Well, I figure out the train to get there.
Good for you.
Yes. At least they're English speaking. It wasn't too bad.
Oh my gosh, yes.
And I come up out of the subway and, or the underground as they call it.
Yeah.
Come out and I could not believe the crowd. Oh my gosh. There was just people everywhere lining the street. I thought, this is crazy. They do this every day. I can't believe there's so many people here. So I see this police officer.
Bobby?
An English Bobby.
So a Bobby.
It was a female.
Okay.
And I walked up to her and I was like, I'm just wanting to see the changing of the guard. I don't even know. Where do I go to stand? And she was like, if you came to see the changing of the guard, you're in for a treat. And I was like, what? She said, today's the opening of Parliament. This hasn't happened in, I can't remember what she said, like 6 years or something. You're going to get to see the Queen today.
I can't even believe it. Oh my gosh, this experience is actually, it's very Lainey because you have great favor when you travel.
It's hilarious. So what this is like a huge deal. And so
the streets are blocked off. Like she's coming.
She's coming through. There's a whole like Calgary of all the horses. They shoot off all these cannons. But her little carriage went right by me, so I do have a little video of that.
Wow.
Now, it's enclosed. I barely could see her, but she was in there.
It was like a cream-colored carriage, wasn't it?
I was thinking, it's been 9 years ago, so I forgot.
Yeah.
I was picturing it was like black and gold.
Okay, you should dig that picture up so we can put it on Instagram, or that video.
Yes. So
dig some pictures up for us.
But it was so amazing. So I got to see this huge pomp and circumstance, which is so English.
Wow.
And the other piece that was funny about that is in the opening of Parliament, she has to have her scepter and crown.
Oh my gosh.
So the day before, I had gone to see the crown jewels, and those things were there. If I had flip-flopped
2 different days,
I would have seen the change in the guard, missed that whole thing I saw. And then if I had gone to see the crown jewels, it wasn't all there because she was using it.
Because she had it.
So I just felt like God so shined on that.
Footsteps, I'd say.
Exactly. So that was so much fun.
That's cool.
And the other place I saw on that trip was Kensington Palace.
Okay.
I did get to go and tour that.
That's cool.
And then my friend and I, by the direction of Rick Steves, who gives great travel advice.
Travel, yeah.
He recommended doing high tea at the Orangery, which is at Kensington Palace. And so that's where we did a high tea. And I also highly recommend that. You have to do that if you go on a trip to London, to just experience true tea, the way they do it. And I did think the Orangery at Kensington Palace was a great place to do it.
And high tea is way more than tea.
Way more than tea. And it's even was one of the more expensive things I did.
Yeah.
I think it was around somewhere in the neighborhood of 50. I can't remember if it was 50 pounds or $50, but it was not just a cup of tea.
Right.
But you get different finger sandwiches and scones and just real pretty, usually a 3-tiered tray of lovely foods and many choices of tea. And
so what did your friend say when you came back and you're like, hey, it was a good morning, hate you missed it?
Oh, she couldn't believe it. And I was standing next to a family who had lived in London for 10 years and never seen the Queen.
Wow.
And they were like, you've been here for 3 days and you're seeing her? We've never seen her. We've lived here almost 10 years.
Y'all, that's called favor. That's amazing.
So that was a sweet time.
Yeah, I love it.
Anyway, so that's the 2 residences I saw while I was in London in 2010.
Okay, cool.
Want me to mention any others?
Are there other... You've been to so many.
There's many. My next
Are there other ones
trip to London,
I
must see Windsor Castle. I haven't seen Windsor Castle, and I really want to see that. It's a kind of a day trip away out of London, but you can do it in one day to go and come back.
Cool.
But I have seen a couple of the ones in Scotland, and Mom and I got to tour Hillsborough Castle in Northern Ireland. Which is their residence when they're in Northern Ireland.
That's cool.
So that was really special. And
so cool.
One of the things I wanted to mention about that one was, I'm going to mention, when I was in Scotland in 2016, I saw the Palace of Holyrood House, which is in Edinburgh. That's one of their homes there.
Okay.
But it was also... To me, it was fascinating to think about that was the home where Mary, Queen of Scots was.
Wow.
And then I saw from afar, I could only see it like through trees. It was off the road. Balmoral Castle in Scotland. And Charles, I think, was there while we were there. So you couldn't get to it, but he was there in that one. And then we also toured the Britannia yacht, which was the royal yacht from 1954 to 1997.
You can get on their boat. That's
crazy.
Tour
that yacht, and that's where Charles and Diana honeymooned, on that yacht.
Okay.
And both with touring the Britannia and Hillsborough Castle, one thing I would say that surprised me was just how normal both of them felt. Now, yes, there was areas that were really fancy, like dining areas
oil
and stuff
paintings.
like that, where they paintings of kings and things like that. But a good bit of it felt like anybody else's family room.
Really? That's crazy.
The beds on the yacht were like tiny, and her pillow on her bed was so flat. I mean, it wasn't plush at all. I couldn't believe it. I think it was a full-size bed, not a queen.
Wow.
It was a full-size bed, and the pillows were so flat that I just thought, like, this is so funny. Because I picture, like, a Napoleon kind of everything's gold and everything's grand.
Every fluffy, ornate, most comfortable,
not at all,
resting place you can imagine from the finest of catalogs.
Her desk was super simple.
So the Queen doesn't have a queen-size bed.
Well, she may in Buckingham Palace.
I'm sure, but in this place.
And doesn't require it. That was also special to me to see. And they had family photos sitting around.
Oh my gosh, that's bizarre. I mean, it's their family.
It's their family, just like anybody else. So you're seeing like, oh, there's Harry and Meghan, just a picture of them in normal,
oh my god,
like dressed,
right.
but not like
looking pretty
wedding photo, like just cute picture.
Yeah, not on a staircase in every shot.
Exactly. And here's a picture of, I don't even know them, but I guess that's somebody else in the royal family, you know, like, and they're just next to.
Wow.
Kate, two of Kate's kids, or, you know, so it's special to see, like, okay, these are just people.
They're people. Yeah. Yeah, they have a different rank than us.
And they don't maybe have the same problems that we have, but they have problems.
Exactly.
And so it was just fun to see that. So I might pull a few of those pictures.
Please do. I'll put them up.
Just for anybody who's never gotten to visit one of those kind of residences.
Well, you mentioned tea, high tea being a tradition on a
for all
regular
of the
basis. Or even if it's not to the extent that you're talking about, like,
but they want a cup of tea in the afternoon.
Definitely daily tradition. And so I just think oftentimes tea is shared with another. And I think that's why us Southerners love them as well. That's hospitality, hosting.
I've heard that Queen Victoria is who started that. Okay. That she was hungry around between 2 to 4 in the afternoon needed something because dinner was going to be late and she needed something. So she kind of started this. I want some small sandwiches and fruit and sweet, just a few little bites with my tea.
Yeah.
And it just came from that.
Wow.
And so now you even will see that often in hotels or on cruise ships or different things, because if you are, even in Australia or in any of those places where England ruled, if you will.
Yeah. It's a dedicated activity.
It's something they're used to.
Yeah, so absolutely.
Go do the teas in the afternoon.
Well, I mean, I wrote in my notes, I just think it's wonderful that they open up their home or castle, but just that hospitality is the heart of it. And I think that's sweet. I also, and this is probably one of the last couple, I have this one and one more, and that's all that I have. But I heard a woman talking about the home that she grew up in. So she's a grown woman. And she said, in my home, my mom was queen. And my dad made sure all of us kids and everyone knew that.
Okay.
And so, anyway,
if Mama ain't happy, ain't nobody happy.
She was actually sharing the story because her husband had a very contrasting story that home he grew up in, and so when they got married, it was like a point of contention and hard thing that they had to work through with the male-female roles of the home. But I just think it's so funny to hear this Southern lady telling me about how when I grew up, my mom was queen, and we all knew it. So
we are friends with a family who their matriarch has now passed, but they called her Queen Kate. Mm-hmm. Yeah, she was very much revered by all of us who knew her.
Exactly,
but to even call her that,
Queen
it
Kate,
was so sweet.
I know, that's very true.
But I do think there's something about just celebrating the matriarch and honoring her is often big in the South. Yeah.
Well, I think of our Aunt Phyllis. I mean, she was we didn't call her Queen Phyllis, but she was very much a matriarch and was the point of gathering family for events and
that's right.
Things happened at her house.
Instigator to gather people.
There you go. Instigator. That's
she was the one who would
Yeah.
make sure that kind of thing happened.
Yeah.
And, very special to get to be at her funeral and see literally the line out the door of the church and down the street.
On a July day.
On a hot July day.
Yeah.
Because what's more important than leaving a legacy like that of people who want to, say their goodbyes because you touched their life?
Yeah.
So special.
Yeah.
Well, I think even we kind of touched on this already, but a lot of their activities that they do have influenced our activities here. You do see a lot of hunting, horse, equestrian activities, different things that they participate in there. Our ancestors do here, making whiskey, or bourbon. Yeah. That's a very Scotch-Irish thing is to make whiskey. So you see that here too. Yeah. Like there's just a lot of the similar things. That's the music, we've talked about that before. Yes. Bluegrass music of the South came from the Scottish-Irish influence of their music. Yeah. It touches so much. It touches so much.
It does.
The weddings, gosh, a royal wedding is a big hoo-ha. So is a Southern wedding.
That's true. Bridal parties are, as wide as they can be with numbers of participants because, of all the largeness that we love.
And I've mentioned that I got to see a wedding happening when I was in Scotland. And they wear the hats, the fascinators, the men have the kilts on. Like, that's what you do for a wedding. Yeah,
a day wedding, even. Not just after 8 o'clock black tie affair.
Yes, this was afternoon.
Yeah. So. Well, I think people with money are just interesting. That's kind of what my last point was going to be.
People that have money for horses and boats.
I was going to say, in the same way that it's a much more probably negative sense, but that a lot of reality TV shows are made around Kardashians and people that have money. Yes. I think people are just fascinated and interested in how the wealthy live.
That's true.
But contrasting that in the same way that we started, people with money that also have
good values,
some good values and morals and traditions.
Unlike the Kardashians,
that is very interesting, and I truly think that is the appeal of Downton Abbey. I think
you've got it. Yeah, that's right.
I think it's it's for the most part kind of a PG level of storyline, maybe PG-13 in some, but it probably wouldn't be interesting to the whole family, but it could be on, I would say, for the most part.
And one of the things I find really fascinating about Downton Abbey, and I think I also find fascinating in Gone with the Wind or whatever, is you are seeing a difference in class.
Yes.
The upstairs versus downstairs of Downton Abbey and how they interact and their intrigue even with one another. Yeah. Different things like that. That's real life no matter where you live.
Yeah.
That there is some tension in that.
Right.
But still appreciation for one another.
Yeah.
And I love that about Downton.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's going to be fun. I can't wait to see the film. In the film, the trailer shares that the Queen is coming to Downton for dinner. I don't know how long she's planning to stay, but so that is the hoopla.
So that's going to be fun.
All of the downstairs staff will be preparing for from a logistics standpoint, and then of course all of the upstairs.
I can't imagine
are going to be actually entertaining her.
That would be like.
Yeah, I know. We're like smiling talking about it. It probably isn't something that we need to think too far about, but still fun to think about. So that's why we love the royal family. That's kind of our list. Is they're a lot like us because we kind of came from those parts, and
that's right. There is an exhibition coming to the Biltmore.
Okay,
it's a Downton Abbey exhibition.
Okay,
it's currently at the Castle at Park Plaza in Boston.
Okay.
It will be there through September 29th. So if you're in Boston or that area before September 29th, you can check it out there. But it's coming to the Biltmore from November the 8th of this year to April 7th of next year.
Oh, you got plenty of time to get there.
Plenty of time.
So that's in Asheville, North Carolina.
That's right. I was thinking it's interesting timing with it coming in November because you're going to get to see Christmas with one ticket price, the Downton exhibition, and Christmas.
Oh, man, that's a good deal.
So that is a lot to see. Now, the pricing of the tickets it's $89 a person for adults, $44.50 for kids that are 10 to 16, and 9 and under is actually free.
Okay.
So that's the pricing to see the Biltmore, which will include
but 9
that.
and under is going to be bored to tears.
Exactly.
So bring
But the exhibition apparently has various sets, various clothing, lots of the things that you would know.
Yeah.
So
love
there
it.
you go.
I love it. All right, guys. Well, that's going to do it for this episode of the Steel Magnolias podcast. Thanks again for those of you that are already following us on Instagram. If you haven't yet already, hit that follow button and be sure and look for the chance to win tickets to the Elvis Unleashed film
that'll be a fun night out
in October. Yeah. All right. Y'all have a good week. We'll see you here next time.
Bye, y'all.